Okay. Looks like I've got my question up here. So this, a lot of material is very similar to what we covered last year with SOLS. So I'm going to try and provide some extra commentary based on not necessarily, but like how you interact and how you communicate with young professionals. Allison, once you give the go ahead, I'll go ahead and get started.
We'll give until maybe 2 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Just a quick go around. Can everybody on the phone introduce yourself and the section that you're from?
I'll go first. I'm Dan Kleck from the Chicago section.
Anderson from the Milwaukee section.
Looks like more people that might just be coming in, so we'll give Karen and Lee a few minutes here.
Hi, Lee Marino. I'm on. Thanks. I forgot to hit mute.
Oh, hi, Lee. Thanks for joining. Go ahead and get started. Maybe everybody else is having a snow day.
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Aaron Matthews. I'm involved with student and young professional engagement with the Chicago section. I've been a member of SAE, I guess, professionally since I'm 6. But I was involved with Illinois Chicago's SI team from 2003 till 2006. So I try to help bridge the gap and engage as many of the students and young professional members as I can. And it's a unique crowd. And I think I'll try to get on this a little bit as we go along. Millennials are kind of it's a other generation with a bunch of unique characteristics, and they take a unique way of communication in order to get engaged. So I'll talk about that as we go through. So one of the things that this section has kind of made a pilot program with is to assess how they sponsor the teams in the area. So I'm going to cover that first. And first of all, started off, we wanted to, if any of the teams register, they're guaranteed to get 25% of our this leadership allotment. And the next step up would be to host an on-site meeting for the local section, or at least getting the local section board on-site to see what they're doing. They get another 25%, and then get them engaged to come up to local section meetings. There's like the next tier, and they're really engaged and they're getting a lot of feedback from local sections, specifically alumni, on how their technical inspection on the first day to get the last little bit of their sponsorship. So it's a very tiered approach to try and get as much engagement out of the students as possible. It's the first. First, it seemed to have really good. The out really good, but it's very difficult to keep that many people engaged. In order for this to be really effective, you need somebody on local section side who has the time, the ability to really track down a lot of students to make sure that they're staying engaged. One of the ways we kind of bridge the gap a little bit to get them prepared for a local section meeting is you send like a very simple slide, and you can sales pitch. Like if your team can come up with a one-slide summary of what you're working on and what your goals are for the year, we put that up in front of the local section meeting. You can sell your team to all of the attendees. This is like a template that I provided to a lot of the students, and there's an example Northwestern came back with for one of the things we had last year. So I think one of the emerging parts that you as a local section can do with the students is to really kind of define what their goals are for the competition. I think it's very common for young people, the millennials, to have very high expectations and want to really get involved and really accomplish things. And so they don't have the realistic goals. They get really ambitious in wanting to win the whole competition, but understanding what it means to win, you kind of want to help them define what that is. Taking it only has 6 members and get place in all the dynamic events and STEM events and design events is extremely difficult. Something that's, the teams really get first place in these events are, large endowments and are very well involved. They're really well-defined programs. And so young teams need encouragement in order to understand that their limitations are pretty strong to do that. But help them set realistic goals and help them kind of develop a program that become a top-tier competitor. So, and this sort of sponsorship was just meant to be like a Kickstarter for the students. If you're for the CDS, it's not something they're going to be able to. They can't compete with just your Kickstarter money alone. So you're really helping them to try and get out of the network to meet the industry that you have in your section. Can connect with people and help find funding for the team, but also help the network to find connections for internships and even applying for that first job. I put a partial burden on helping this networking and helping providing funding for the people that are on the board, so that those companies are the ones that are kind of leading the forefront and making sure for providing funding for the students. So the results is from 2013-2014 academic year. All 4 teams all 4 schools in an area were able to compete in one event or another. Displayed at the Chicago show. They're planning another event. We wanted to get the CDS teams out in the pits at Route 66, which is a drag strip in the area. I'll talk about it a little bit later. We got 2 other schools to come out for a local section event. One, we didn't get teams to come out for a young professional event, and I personally was able to visit some of the ES events on site. Last year, SOLS was in the Michigan Speedway, so we were able to go through and see a lot of the formula teams as they were competing. Chance to meet with them there and pits and talk to them and see how well they were able to do. So this, let's try to quickly summarize what we're trying to do. But this required effort on someone or the board to keep this active. And personally, it's a lot of effort. It's more effort than I can can handle at the moment. So it's not something that's working as well as I would hope for. So like in order to make this really successful, you need a good team of people that are able to follow through and coordinate with the students. The quality of these the students to young professionals to your active local section members, there's kind of a lifespan of each of these you can look at. You know, when you become a professional, you've got 30 or 40 years in the industry. The young professional, you have a lifespan of about 10 years. And students, they're like 2, maybe 3 years if you're lucky. But if you get them involved for a year, but they transfer all the other knowledge from one team to the next, you're going to lose that connection with them in order to get them to give you feedback as to what they're doing. So it's an ongoing effort to make it you keep them involved and keep the communication lines open. So, and again, just a summary of what it takes to really the benefits of what local section teams are for the students. So another communication is getting understanding what the students are doing and when. A big part, and that's when are their fall breaks, when are they doing exams, when do they have midterms, and if you want to have an event on site, you kind of plan. You work with a student's calendar. You need to know what they're doing, where they're going to be, and when all their efforts is when they're busy. There's times when they're going to be able to focus on what you're asking them to do, and there's times when they're just going to ignore communication. If you're not a priority for them, they're not going to follow through. Okay, and to make it easy for both them and myself, we're happy to list of all of these available events, just for like how many things are going on. It seems easy for some of the students to get really so focused on the event that they're in that they lose sight of that there's other events and there are other competitions, and they can get very focused on thinking what they're doing is the most important thing, and you want to help them to, especially schools that have multiple teams. Northwestern, for example, has a Formula team, a Baja team, an Aero team, and a clean snowmobile team, and those teams don't always interact with each other. They get very focused on their particular program, and they don't communicate with one another. And an easy example I've got is the last time I went to Northwestern to give a presentation. I asked weeks in advance, like, make sure you get all the SAE teams here on site. I want to get them all together so we can talk about what it's like to transition from a student to a young professional. The day of, make sure invite as many people as you can. I'm going to reimburse you guys for like $50 for the pizza. Just get as many people there as possible. And then when it turned out that when I'd offered the pizza, they kind of were selective on who they wanted to invite to the meeting, because they wanted to make sure that the people that were most involved or most interested were getting the pizza, and not just people that are coming in and freeloading. So it's I can respect that they want to only reward the people that are, but the message that you, a local section, are trying to give is kind of is universal. Like, you want to reach out to everyone, whether they're lightly engaged or really engaged, and it's part of it's something a human mentality doesn't always encompass, and it's part of the bigger picture that you're trying to bring to them. Okay, so now we're talking more specifically about the young professional programs and some of the results we have with those events. Some of the things that we've done have been really popular. Oktoberfest, I think Oktoberfest is a really popular idea. It's specifically a very social event. It doesn't involve any technical content at all, and that's one of the importance to bring to young professionals is already once they get their new job, or they've been working a year or 2 or 3, they're kind of getting up to speed with how the industry is working. So they aren't necessarily looking for strong technical content from local section. They're looking more to get out and expand their network and how they overall in the industry. It's almost engineers by themselves already have maybe a trend for lack in the social skills department. So you kind of want to give them the opportunity to socialize without any sort of limits or judgment. You want to just to get out there to just do themselves and kind of develop good tips with people in their area. August is one of those ways. Because there's no technical content, we can bring in a lot of young professionals from multiple disciplines. We brought in not only the SAE young professionals, also the chemical engineering young professionals, and got to mix across a multidisciplinary event. Another strong event is we got Chicago Auto Show. The year UIC and IIT were able to put vehicles on display. Especially this year, I haven't had any feedback from them as to knowing whether or not they're going to be on display. And a nice thing to do is to coordinate with other local engineering societies in your area, and to feedback on some of the programming that they have for young professionals. And because a lot of the young professional skills, transitional set of experience are very universal, not very specific to one discipline of engineering. They're not mechanical or industrial or chemical. They're kind of they're more just a soft skill set. And the more you can communicate those soft skills and how to develop those, the better, the more quality of engineers and members you can have in your local section. The present I give the most is talking about transitions from young professional from student to young professional, and I can talk about that a little bit in a while. And then the last three that are very popular are play, roll, and day in the pits. And I have some photos for those I can show off to you. So again, Oktoberfest is really popular because we try to coordinate it with multiple local organizations. CHE has a very strong young professional group in the Chicago area. They did it for 6 or 7 years and have got a very large amount of young professionals. I did try and coordinate these events with theirs, some Bears games or baseball or just the Oktoberfest, this whole stuff, just to get them together to communicate and understand how they fit in the way. There's a Snap Auto Show. This works really well in Chicago because we have an auto show, but there's also, the LA area and Detroit and New York, they've all had auto shows as well. And the nice thing is the orders for the auto show, the students are out just for academic purposes. It's not charging them to be on display. You just have to help them. If you can take a lead and as a local section, help coordinate getting them on site and having a space set up and encouraging your local section to come and visit them at the same time, so that you get into putting places with the role of local section. It's very difficult to get students to recognize names and emails, but you start getting them to recognize faces when they're coming around. That's kind of the first step in order to get them involved. But one problem the students have had, and I'm sure everyone can understand from going to an auto show, is these little kids will climb on everything. If they're bringing their car and it's not fully done yet, or still in prototype stages, kids will come and pull on stuff. So they have to hover around the cars quite a bit to make sure nothing breaks. And then the CHE has got a Midwest Regional Conference. This is a conference they put on for the Chicagoland area, bring people from Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Lower Michigan, Missouri, and Iowa, all talking about specific industry topics for chemical engineering in the area. However, also got they've dedicated two session tracks for young professional development over the course of 2 days, or 2 of the 3-day conference, and they're able to help kind of in a lot of these topics in order to help approach students and young professionals without making it specific to chemical engineering, and bring a lot of just the skills again, just understanding like what it's for these students to get out in the real world and what to be effective. The most popular sessions are resume workshop and then interviewing skills. It's really popular for juniors and seniors that are trying to get internships and applying for their first jobs. A lot of them don't have any part-time job experience. They've never even worked at McDonald's or pizza or anything. So they're very, very new to trying to sell themselves confidently in a one-on-one situation, especially when it involves like the future of their lives for multiple years. The other two just talking about if you can graduate engineering training practices. This is something you kind of like an HR representative comes in and talks about what expecting from new hires as they start the onboarding process. And one of the is hard to get young professionals to understand is they're not necessarily to be productive on the first day. The company is not expecting them to be productive. They're up to speed over the course of like 6 months, and they may not be fully billable or even sustaining until 6 months have passed by. Like there's a lot of they need to understand the company's background, the company's history, the company's products, how those products relate to each other, motto, all these things they have to understand and really grasp to become effective employees. And it's something that's just built, and I'm sure a lot of you have understood this as well. It's something the checkbox to get this. You want to kind of realize that you understand what you're doing. Okay. It looks like the resume workshop. Here's some examples of the new hiring programs. We had three companies that are big in the Chicago area: OP and Ingredion. Texas is like process consulting. He is for pet oil processing, and then Ingredion is actually corn products. Corn Products International is what their name used to be. These presents were really effective. They're very effective for students and professionals, but they always know they need to see this sort of stuff, especially with finances and developing a budget. That's one of the most. It's a set of very important skills that the young professionals need to understand as they graduate. I think it's common. Personally, I've seen this with several people. They go from having a $10 income or no income, and all of a sudden making $55,000 or $60,000 while at home with their parents, and they actually allocate a huge chunk of that income to driving like a BMW or the fancy sports car. They overextend their budget so much that they realize, 6 to 8 months later, they can't move out of their parents' place because they don't have an allocation for rent, and it's kind of encouraging a modest approach to financial expenditures is difficult. It's hard to sell. They want to buy these status items, whether it's a new car or if they're just upgrading expensive electronics in their apartment. That's an important skill set. That's even something that you talk about at a local section meeting or a national meeting specific for the local section. And it's a big set. Not everyone. professional engineering or the PE license exams. Those are important, but I think it's not as many young professionals are putting those exams as they used to be. And the next is the panel on time management. Getting professionals to understand time management is almost as important as getting them to understand how they're spending their money. With the social engagement that the students and young professionals have, they have a lot of their time just to keeping up a virtual presence, communicating or keeping in contact with people throughout the day. Because it means that they're constantly updating Facebook or tweeting or something. When they get to their work environment, they're going to continue to do this whether you want them to or not. And understanding how they do that while working and still being effective is something the managers have to coordinate with the professionals. So if you can find to talk about those sort of skills, talking about relationships between an employee and a manager are very effective. And that's actually one of my another subject we'll get into. Again, I will view of interviewing one-on-one and resume critiques. It's not you do an interviewing session or a resume session. You get in, you watch as many local professionals as you can. Their levels of experience. Somebody who's got 5 years or somebody who's got 35 years. You allow them to give differing opinions on resumes or interviewing styles, and to see how they communicate with people and how their body language is really selling themselves in the interview. And so, here, understand the unwritten laws of engineering. My personal favorite, and these topics, ones that I incorporate very heavily into a program into a presentation I give to young professionals and CS students at the universities. I talk about like what they're going to experience when they make this transition from being a student to young professional. Really encompasses three relationships: how engineer how they relate with their manager, how they relate with their company, and then how they relate with the public, how they present their company to the public. And there's a skill, kind of like just an approach to how you're representing and being not conservative nature, but how you're selling yourself to represent all these things. And I'll give some brief highlights on that, but that's something I could go into a lot of detail another time. And one of the important things for relating an engineer to the manager is understand that the manager is not always going to give the engineer or the young professional everything they need to know about their job, or anything they want to know about their job. They're going to get what they need to know about getting a deliverable done and getting it done on time. And if the young professional doesn't know how to do that job, they need to speak up and ask questions on how to get something done, rather than just how to get something done, rather than just sitting by and hoping that they learn it accidentally or something. They have to be very active on how to do that. How to their company, and then how they relate to the company and public. And I'm sure a lot of you have situations where especially as a field engineer, if you're fitting your company's product on the road, be careful how you talk about your product after hours, especially with customers or with other other. You don't want to down your company or undersell or your company in public, because you never know who's listening, and you got to be careful you don't want to escalate something that's not that bad of a situation. another topic that would be really good for section level meeting is discussion on how to deal with difficult people. Engineers have a very there's a trend with engineers to tell that they always know what is right and a proper way how to do something. But the proper way and how to do something has now changed, and how you get work done in the workplace. Millennials are going to see the right to do something, and Gen Y and X and baby boomers are going to see how to do something differently. And you can have conflicts in the workplace, understanding on how that happens. And these difficult situations can result can more than just to do things. It could involve situation where people are being asked to do something they're not comfortable with, or be in situations with sexual harassment. Like if you want to really help educate young people, even regular engineers, on how to deal with this sort of stuff in a high level, in a kind of a high level mentality. May not get that sort of exposure. They don't even know that sort of stuff exists in the workplace, and they need to see that there's other options, that there's more options than they really know, than they may have known, and how to deal with those situations. I saw small set skills that are popular. It's the first students talk about what options are after graduation. If you're looking, some of them are interested in going to med school. They want to go to law school, whether they want to pursue a master's or pursue a PhD, or pursue a or pursue a degree, a degree that's outside of their current discipline, like the doctors. Like if for example, if you have someone who's got a mechanical engineer who decides to go in and get a degree in material science, there is some overlap, but not necessarily a complete overlap. And so it's nice to have people from the industry to give exposure or to give insight on what that sort of stuff's like. For students and young professionals is a huge thing. And bringing a little bit about the sciences for students specifically, they don't. Students always understand what their side of a salary offer, making $55,000 or $60,000 a year, but they understand the cost the companies incur in order to give that offer. When you start incorporating not only the salary but benefits, office space, the computer, all the software, the employee might only be paid $30 an hour, but he may be internally worth something between $85 or $120 an hour. And a lot of that may come around very specific application software. In case for myself, doing a lot of calibration work, a lot of the calibration software and the coding and scripting software is very expensive. Some of them are $30,000, $50,000 a year, and it's almost to the cost of what my salary was. And then another skill that's not always apparent, that's not always developed with students, is just how to give a presentation, how to sell yourself, and how to sell what you're working on. One example, like for giving presentations, you always need to know your audience. The speech that a manager would give to engineers is really different than the summary that the manager would give to a VP or executive level position, even encompassing the same topic. Whether the VP may get a 5-minute summary and the staff may get an hour because they need more details on how to make things be effective. Again, just a very high level shot of IP in the workplace. This is probably the most important message that I can help get to students is and students and employees that are in the workplace. A lot of things that if they knew before they started their job, they have just a little bit different and on how to look at things when they start working. That make the job position that much easier. Having more realistic expectations of what they're going to be able to do and what coworkers are going to do with them. And then here, just kind of to wrap up things before we take some questions, there's just some example photos of the different events that we've done. This one Friday, we got a go-kart track that's in the Chicago area, and there's a video game called Mario, which is all of the Nintendo World characters that just race in go-karts. So many of them to dress up in costume as possible. We encompass it around Pi Day. March 14th, we get pizzas with pot filled out and pepperoni. And then here all just in go-karts, getting ready to goof around. Whirl is a popular event. I know it's available in Chicago. I believe it's also available in Detroit and in Florida. It's lacrosse and bumper cars. This is another great event. It's very social, and actually it helps in a lot of building because it's usually 5-on-5 or 6-on-6, and getting people to communicate with one another, especially when you teams that of individuals that have never met before. You help get them to break the ice and learn how to communicate charge and get to and then, events that I really enjoy, but take a terrible amount of coordination and luck to get to pull off, is the day pits. I have a former coworker who is a real lawyer in motorsports. Her family has races in the top sportsman class. It's like 1,500, 2 miles an hour in like 7.5 seconds, and it's a great opportunity to get a lot of the young students out, young professionals out to see what it takes to a real organized machine in a very, very high speed or high performance category. So we were able to get her engine came out and was able a lot of parts on display. You can see in the photos there's a lot of camshaft, a lot of valve train, heads, pistons, and stuff. And flow stuff. I also work with event at Route 66, which is the extra here, about even getting an opportunity for the CDS teams to put their vehicles on display out behind the grandstand, so that they could kind of display their progress for the year to the Chicagoland public, the local people that are interested in racing get to see what sort of racing stuff is available at the local universities. If you do these events, there's a wide attendees that are coming from a very diverse background. You have people that are very interested in racing, people that are just very interested to come and drink and watch them do burnout. You get the opportunity to get the CDS teams and get their cars out and display and get to inspire. You can have this ability to inspire a lot of really young talent to get them involved with SAE or to look forward to doing to know that they have to go through and do a lot of math and science in order to be able to to ready to get to an SAE program. So, and that's the end of the photo we got here. Another one here is networking. Keep in mind, as for young professionals, our role in the workplace has changed considerably in the past 30 years. So, or longer ago, they may have been hired as a chemical or mechanical or engineer. A lot of very specific roles have changed. So now they're doing product development or process management or roles or simulation engineer. And those those encompass a lot of different disciplines of engineering. So they really multi-threaded in order to get their job done, and they're going to need access to a lot of tools they may not have had during their coursework. So encouraging them not only to attend the IE events, but find ways to get them to coordinate with other professional organizations, finding common ground on common topics. It's important to helping them see how big the world of engineering is and how much they need to communicate with other engineers to get a product developed. I think it's easy for engineers to undersell the amount of involvement a certain product takes to develop, and it's a burden on us as more senior engineers or experienced engineers to really help them see the amount of effort it takes to develop professionally and to develop programs. So, all right, that's the slides I've got for you, and I'm open to questions and continuing discussion here. Does anyone have any questions on the material that I've been able to go over?
Hey, Aaron, this is Dan Carlick. Just a quick one. I know we've worked together in the Chicago section, and I think one of the things we talked about was the issues with difficulty in communication is turnover rate. These kids graduate from school, and like we talked about or tried to address, maybe what we really need is to the schools, who is the person that these students report to, who is their representative, who's actually at the school on a continuing basis year after year, and maybe try to establish contact with that particular person at each of the universities.
Yeah, Dan's right. The student teacher advisor is the one you want to keep most involved with what you're doing. I think unfortunately for our section, we had the student section advisor has not been as engaged, and there's been a lot of turnover in those positions. Like a lot of them get involved, but then they don't commit to the amount of time that they need in order to communicate with students. Students end up doing quite a bit of stuff on their own. And do you have any highlights or questions about the material?
Oh, good. Does anybody else have any questions for Aaron on the phone? Aaron, actually get involved with the YP. Like, how did this become kind of on your plate in the section? Okay, so
I went to school with a degree in chemical engineering. So I was really involved with AICHE and AE as a student. But then when I graduated, AICHE was more, I'm not going to say important, but it was more active in my area. And when I realized that there was also a young professionals group for AICHE, I started to get quite involved. And a lot of the events that they were doing were very social. After a year or two, I was nominated to be chair of Young Professionals for the Chicago area, and so I helped to organize more events, and I try to help them expand a little to encompass, like, start being more multidisciplinary with their social events. So I helped to launch the conference tracks for the soft skills tracks for the Midwest Regional Conference, and so the Oktoberfest, like getting that to open up to be not just chemical guys, but just everybody. And when I helped to like open this to the other groups, some of these events went from like 10 or 12 people to like 30 or 35. And it could be very social, and I think a lot of people had a lot more fun. Really got to see how that the struggles that the young professionals were having in their own discipline happened with other groups in other disciplines, and I think that was more reassuring for them to know that they're not alone. Like there's growing pains with being a young professional, And if you can see, you know, you can work some of those pages vicariously, it's very helpful for young members.
Thank you very much, Aaron, for presenting. And I'll give one last chance to be on the phone. Any questions, anything your section is thinking about doing for YP, or maybe Aaron's done it before?
It was good information, though. Appreciate it.
This is Lena with the DC section. I really appreciated the presentation today. We have some unique challenges here in the DC section in that we don't have a lot of local industry, but we are heavy on the student chapters that are local to us. So this was very informative for me. I'm wondering, would it be possible to get a copy of the slide deck you presented today?
Aaron, if you can send me this presentation, I can put it in the section officer's toolbox. I have the virtual SOL in there as well, so we can get put up for you there, along with this video. Very much, everybody, for participating. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank